My name is Ashley. I'm 22 years old and I've been living in this middle class neighborhood for 2 years now. I moved in here around 2020, and at the time before I moved in, I was still living with my parents. I didn't have enough money saved up for my own place. And even my parents, they didn't demand me to pay their any sort of rent, but was still live with them, which is a good thing. And I love my parents, regardless. But even though I did have a full-time job, but it was not much of well paid as much people believed. I was actually working at a grocery store. Yeah, so, but I managed to save up enough money so I could consider to move out. But I wasn't really sure exactly where. I thought maybe a small apartment in town or maybe a small house. But thanks to my parents' help, they managed to find a good place in town in a neighborhood that was what I consider one of the safest and peaceful. In fact, when me and my mom went to this place, I saw the house that was up for sale. It it was a beautiful house. I fell in love immediately. After there's a lot of process, I had a house for myself, and some of my friends and family helped me to move in, and I fell immediately with that place. Even though shortly after I had moved in, I felt lonely and quite scared. But it's quite honestly, it's normal to feel like this. That was the first time I was living by myself, but it didn't take long for me to get to know the neighbors in this particular neighborhood. To my left was a couple named Henry and Victoria. Henry was about they were both in their mid 40s. Then across the street there was this younger guy, a little bit older guy named Charlie. After being told from Henry that Charlie was actually quite of a handyman, and he was also in the Marines at the time, and it still is. Charlie was, like I said, the handyman. He often helps some of the neighbors if they need help with something, like garden work, or even look after the house, or even cut the lawns for them, and he didn't take any payment for that. He only told them the same thing. He was just helping his fellow neighbors. And I was just really surprised that it all happened. But after been living in my house for just 1 year, this happened around 2021. The house to my right was empty until I found out from Mr. Henry, from Henry, that a new neighbor was going to move in shortly. And sure enough, a young guy, or maybe just 1 year older, named Simon moved in. And he was quite good looking. I mean, he was really, he was, he was around my age though, or just only 1 year older. Shortly after he had finished moved in, I walked over to his house and introduced myself and welcomed him to the neighborhood. And he thanked me, and we started to actually see each other quite often, either if I was out for a walk or something with my neighborhood or in my backyard. And we started this good friendship. But one day in July that same year, Henry told me that he and his wife are going to prepare the annual neighborhood cookout. It turned out that the neighborhood has 1 year that they had a neighbor cookout. And it's not the same family each single time. It's different. But this time, Henry and Victoria have been chosen to be the hosting this cookout. And they asked me if I could bring something with me to the party, and I brought a chocolate cake that I made. At the party, before the party, I had asked Henry if it was possible if I could bring a friend of mine, even though she didn't live in the neighborhood, but he and his wife was actually didn't mind it. So I brought my friend Alexis. She's around the same age, and she is my best friend since high school. And at the party, me and my friend Alexis had a good time. We had a lot of conversation with Victoria, Henry, Charlie, and even Simon. But when Simon and Alexis were talking among themselves, she later told me that she had this gut feeling that was something off about Simon. When I asked what she actually meant by it, but she couldn't give me precise exactly. She only had this kind of gut feeling like, even despite Simon was presenting himself to be a good guy, there was something about him that she didn't know exactly. But I put that behind myself in my mind, and the rest of the party went quite well. He even Simon asked me if I would like to go out with him, since haven't been in any form of relationship since high school, and I was like, why not? I mean, he's a good-looking guy and he's very friendly. I should have listened to my friend's warning about her feeling, but I am a little bit ahead of me. Anyways, we decided to go out the next Friday for a date. We went to the movies, and honestly, we had just a great time. But there was something about my mind about Alexis' warning about Simon that's kind of bothered me. I mean, even during my first date with Simon, it was nothing and I could feel. He didn't give off any sort of red flags or any sort of like it. I was like, what did she even mean about it? But I should have listened. Because after we've just been dating for a couple of weeks, I started to feel weird. Because one time when he went over to my house, this was around the time when I decided it was over between us. Even though it wasn't actually official at the moment, but he was over at my house and we were just watching a movie. When I was using the restroom, he saw my phone on the table and he saw there was some videos of TikTok videos of some guys. When I came back, sit down, he demanded to know why I have been following, if I'm dating these other guys that was on TikToks. I was like, what? Then he showed me on my phone, and I told him, I'm not even know who these guys are. I only saw the videos on TikToks. That's it. And he didn't believe me. He started yelling that I was cheating on him. I was like, Simon, I'm not cheating, and we are not even official yet. I told him firmly. That somehow pissed him off, and he slapped me right in the face. I was done. I told Simon, just leave my house right now. And even though he first put up a fight first, like telling me that he can do what he wants to do, and that he is my girlfriend now, that he is my boyfriend, and I told him once again, we're not dating, and that was the last drop. I told him once again firmly to leave my house. He only made a huff and just left though. I didn't bother to even talk to or even look at him for the next couple of days. But after almost like a week, he came up to me and apologized for his behavior. He told me he had a little bit of low self-esteem, that he can't believe that I told him once again that I didn't even know those guys. I had only been following their videos because they're funny. That's it. But I told him when he asked me if he could go out to try it again to be dating. But I said, no, I'm done. I'm not interested in you anymore. Because I had one single rule. If you start trying to hit me or trying to use violence against me or anyone that I know, that's it. It will be over. So I decided my friendship with Simon was basically over as well. And I just simply just ignored him for the rest of that day on. At first, I did notice that he watched me when I was either on my way to the store or if to work. But when I had some friends over, I could see him looking from his house, from this window, from the blinds, like if I had Alexis over or if I had some other guy friends. And every time I know that he felt betrayed, but he believed I was because all that. And one day when I was at my car, just started returned home from work, Victoria came up to me and asked, "How have you been doing?" And yeah, I told her I was doing well. I'm just a bit tired after work. That's normal though. But then she asked me if how this thing is between me and Simon. I mean, the whole neighborhood knew that we were dating at the time, but not anymore. I told her, well, there's nothing between us. Then she told me that someone told her that she was told that Simon and I were still dating in secret, and that I had been cheating on him with multiple different guys at my house. I was like, what? And Victoria did know that I had several male friends over, but that's it. I was like, I told her, that is just some bad rumors. You should not believe a single word of any of that. And she didn't even believe him, because she had met some of my male friends and she likes them. I mean, they're very friendly. They like Charlie. But that was enough. I thanked her, and after that, I went inside and I went over to Simon's house, and he was like a big smile, like, "Ah, hey, hello." Actually, before he can say anything, "Simon, I will be appreciated if you stop spreading rumors about me and you still been dating, and that you've been saying that I've been cheating on you." He was a little bit surprised, but then he smiled again. "But baby, we are still dating, aren't we?" I firmly said no. We had not been dating for weeks, and there's no way I will go back to you. You are completely idiotic. You're completely insane. And spreading rumors about me and you and that I'm sleeping around with different guys? How dare you? That's when I snapped and said, "Well, this is not my problem. You were being cheating on me with these guys." I once again told him, "Simon, we are not even a couple. And those guys are my friends from high school." But he firmly said, "I don't believe you." He turned out and then he slapped my face once again, and I was like, "Do you do that again, and you will not want to regret to do that." I just turned around and walked home. That was the second time Simon was like this. I couldn't even believe it. I even told Henry and Victoria the next day about it, and they were shocked because even Henry didn't believe the rumors because he actually had met my male friends, and I didn't believe any of that. So after that day, I firmly stayed away from Simon. Even I didn't even look at him, but I know in my heart that he was looking at me. One night, when I was at home alone asleep, I heard something. I didn't know what it was, but it sounded like if someone was inside my house. I snacked. I was sneaking in and look around the kitchen, or at least around my bedroom door, and I heard some sounds like drawers open, and I was like, "Ah, not this." So I literally like yelled out, "I'm calling the police!" And suddenly it went silent, and I heard someone just took off outside from my front door, and before I get through my window, I couldn't see where this individual took away, which way they took. It could have gone on their left or right, or even, I don't know. I doubt it was any of my neighbors. I mean, I couldn't do anything, so after a few minutes, I went to see what it was, what happened. There was nothing being stolen, except sort of my clothes from the bathroom was had been taken. Some of that, I mean, clean clothes, like sort of my underwear. I was like, who in the world you make a burglary into someone's breaking into someone's home and just take some underwear and not any of the values? I mentioned this to Victoria the next day, and she was surprised because she told me this is the first burglary breaking in the neighborhood in over, well, 20 years or so. I was like, what? First in 20 years. But she asked me if I haven't made a report. I said no, because nothing was valuable stolen. She was like a big surprise on her face, like then she asked if I know something was taken. I was a little bit embarrassed, but I told her some of my bras and panties has been stolen. She looked big shocked, like, underwear? What in the world? She said. I was like, yeah. I mean, if you want to break in, wouldn't you just simply take any valuable things? But underwear? I mean, those are not like that value, but they were at least clean, but it's just weird. And I did tell this to my family and to Alexis. They were all shocked and a bit weirded out, like, that were all, they all agreed. Clothes like underwear? What in the world would anyone just steal them? Not any values. I mean, I had a small jar with some money on the table in the kitchen, and it was like maybe $300 or $400 in it, and that wasn't even touched. So it was clear motive. This person knows something that was target me, but not for any values, but only something that I consider as private. So, but I put it behind me, and nothing else happened. But after about a month or so, after this incident, I heard from Simon that he claimed that he saw a person came up my house. So I walked over to him and asked if I could talk to him, and if he could tell me exactly who could have been, or if he saw Ellie's description. But what he told me was basically one of the general population, like a young guy, is probably in his 20s, brown hair, what he could see in the dark, and if this guy was having a hoodie on. And I asked him for which direction, and he pointed right across the street, almost towards Charlie's house, or something like that, in that direction. I think maybe it was Charlie, he said. Charlie? First of all, Charlie wasn't even brown hair. He was blonde, like myself. And why would he even want to steal underwear from one of his neighbors? I mean, I knew Charlie was not that type of guy. I mean, another thing, he wouldn't even want to do anything to jeopardize his career in the Marines. He told me a few times before that he loved to be in the Marines, no matter what. And I told him that I know you would not do anything to jeopardize it. And he smiled and said, yeah, why would I? But regardless, Simon's description of this supposed guy he saw, I had a feeling maybe this guy that he saw didn't exist. But why wouldn't he lie then? Perhaps maybe he was the one who broke into my house. Because the same morning that I woke up after it happened, I noticed that my back door was unfortunately left unlocked. I was probably too tired than the day before to do that. So from that day on, I kept my all windows and both doors locked tight. And nothing happened after this. But one morning when I get before getting up before to go to work, I found a package outside my front door. It was like, but there was no return address or even a name on it, except my name. And when I opened it, it sure did contain my missing underwear. I was like, who steals underwear and returns it? And even contained a small letter in it, like, when I opened it, it said, "Dear Ashley, your love for me is the strongest I ever had felt in years. Your eyes are so beautiful, and I really hope that we could see each other again." But it was not signed by any name, only like Sigrid and Meyer. But it was clearly Simon, because see us being together again. But even though even if I would return this or go to the police, there was not much they can do. I mean, if they talk to him, he probably deny. So there's nothing else I can do. But for every day since that package, I did start hearing some sounds around my house, and every time I went to see, no one was there. I had enough. So, luckily for what I had, remember, Charlie. Charlie was actually not only a good guy, but he was quite handy things, but also very technical skilled. I asked him if there was any advice he could give me. He told me to install some cameras around the house, but I told him I didn't know much about the cameras, and then he actually helped me with that. He actually had some cameras that he had ordered, but were not some old cameras that he didn't use anymore. And he actually helped me install them when Simon wasn't at home. So after that, I was felt more safe now. After about a couple of nights later, I heard some sounds, and Charlie told me how to use my phone to be able to watch the cameras, or at least the footage. And shocking enough, it was Simon. And Simon was trying to break into my house by using a screwdriver at my back door. It was clearly viewed from of his face, despite having a hoodie. That was enough. So, thanks to my parents' help, we went to the police and reported this. And I even had kept the letter, and they actually found fingerprints on it, and it turned out Simon wasn't that unfamiliar with the police. It turned out in his teenage years, he did the kind of same things before in his old neighborhood. He broke into people's houses. Simon literally broke into some of his neighbors' houses and stole some small valuable things, and even broke into the girl that he had a crush on, which had rejected him because of his weirdness, of his creepy stalkerish behavior. And he spent some time in juvie afterwards until he was at least 18, and his parents didn't want to have nothing to do with him. So he had been living around the town for different places, and until he moved to my neighborhood. But even though at first, this looked like a classical behavior, from what I'm told from his family later on, that this was his classical tactic. Try to be acting friendly to win over other people to believe he's a good guy. But then, yeah, there was then he started doing this behavior at night. And I should have listened to my friend Alexis when I told her about this. She was dumbfounded, but she told me her gut feeling was spot on. I told her I should have listened, but she told me she wasn't really exactly sure about why she had this feeling, but now she does. After this, Simon was arrested. In fact, since he had a criminal record before of this behavior, he was even had reported been broken into people's houses when he was 18 and 20 years old, and even spent at least a short time in jail for this. But now this is his final strike. He ended up in jail for at least, I believe it was about 8 to 9 years, and I even had a restraining order against him for life, which is a good thing. At least one good positive thing that came out of this. Shortly after that Simon was arrested, a new young family moved in his old house, and they were friendly. But it was not the good positive things that happened afterwards. Charlie asked me out. He revealed to me that he had a crush on me for a little bit, and he wasn't sure if I was interested. Because you could see what happened with Simon, that we were dating and how he behaved and how he spread rumors about him and me. So which I told Charlie I understand that. So Charlie and I went out, and he actually even moved out from his house and moved in with me. He's still in the Marines, but not only that. Despite only knowing each other for about maybe 2 to 3 years by now, Charlie is no longer my boyfriend. He is my husband. And in fact, at this moment, we are even expecting our first child. Our daughter, actually. And I will be teaching her this story and telling her all kinds about my strange ex-boyfriend, well, kind of ex-boyfriend, and some other things to always be aware of red flags and all that. So yeah, Charlie is my true hero in this. And Simon, even despite you may get got out by this a few years now, please stay away from me and my family. If you would even get near us, I would not hesitate to report you once again. So please, let us never meet again.